Oh, g'day again. Okay, I finally got that alternator back in, and it works. So, yeah, pretty happy with that. But yeah, what a drama. As I mentioned before, if I'd have known, I'd have just pulled the engine out and been done with it. But anyways, a few things I wanted to add to, which weren't mentioned in the previous video. Now, first thing, taking the studs out of this oil filler and replacing them with bolts is not the best idea. The studs are the best idea. They protect the alloy. Alloy's not great for screwing bolts in and out of continuously, but hopefully you won't ever have to take it out again. But the point I want to make is, if you are going to pull a stud out of alloy and replace it, you want to make sure the bolt is long enough to go to within a mil of the full depth of the hole. You want to use up all of the thread. You want it just short enough so it actually tightens the thing down. And even then, you still got to remember that you're screwing into alloy, not steel. Especially if you're someone like me who, I always tighten most things to the maximum that I think that it can handle. And that's something that I've just learnt over 50 years of mucking around with cars, and it comes from experience. It comes from breaking bolts and stripping threads or having things come loose. You sort of learn after a while what you can tighten things up to. And as I said, it varies between alloy and steel. Obviously, you can't put the same amount of tension on alloy as you can on steel. I only actually taught things to manufacture specs. So there's only a few things like engine stuff, like cranks and head bolts and things like that. You do them up to the exact manufacturer's torque, wheel bearings, a few other things. But most things now I just go by experience to what I know they can handle by the thickness of the thread and the material that it's screwing into. And so if you don't have that sort of experience, if you're young and new at the game, then go by manufacturer specs or get some advice from somebody who's been at it for a long time. Okay, so that nightmare drama is over and it's all working well again. And it's until the next time. And as I mentioned before, I've still got a clutch plate that's coming to pieces, and I've got a gearbox selector that I didn't adjust correctly when I added the parts, so it's got to come out again as soon as I can afford a clutch. So we're on to the next agenda of this bug, and if you've watched previous videos, you know that I had to correct bent swing arms, or Z-bars as they're called. And that's come out rather good, and I've just checked them. I was going to realign them, but they don't need it. They're actually both straight and in line with the front, so plenty happy with that. What I have noticed, and this is another mistake that I made, I went to our local bearing shop and got bearings, the rear axle bearings, or what you call rear wheel bearings, but they're actually axle bearings. And because I didn't want to wait a week for the other ones to come from Sydney, like I get my stuff from Just Campers, and they're not expensive. I ended up paying the same amount anyway for local products, and straight off the bat they're whining, and I was hoping it was just the brake drums a bit out of line and that it'd go away, which they normally do when you use the brakes for a few times and they recenter themselves, and you know, if there's a little bit sticking out, it wears off and it stops, but the noise isn't going away. And I've already noticed that I've got, I'm only probably only driven 100 k's, and I've already got more camber than I started with. So that camber is the outer bearings wearing, well, probably both bearings wearing. So that's another mistake. The set. Well, if you buy them single, they're expensive. If you buy them in a set, they're about 100 and something, 130 or something for a set. So, that's for both sides. So that they're a reasonable price anyway. So that's what I should have done. And now I've spent that much, and I've got to do them again. So, yeah, lesson learnt. I should have known better anyway. I've had a lot of issues with bearings over the past few years, and we used to make our own bearings in Australia, for our Holdens and Fords and stuff, and they were, top quality. They're among the best in the world. We don't do that now, and the majority of bearings are now made in Asia, and they're just absolute rubbish. So, anyway, as you can see, I'm once again doing a string line wheel alignment. It's something you can do on older vehicles, especially if you got, something that's going on rough dirt roads and stuff. You don't want to be paying for wheel alignments all the time. And actually, I got a wheel alignment done on this before we went to Sydney, and it was crook as. I had to adjust it on the road to get it to drive properly, so that was another waste of money anyway. But this is all I used to do in the 60s and 70s and 80s anyway to my older vehicles, 70s vehicles. This is plenty good enough. As I said, there are vehicles like, I had an 02 Camry, and you wouldn't attempt to do this sort of a wheel alignment on that, because it has to be, on that particular vehicle, the wheel alignment has to be 100% correct, or it just drives horrible. But vehicles like this, it can be a tiny bit out and you won't even notice. So. But and, usually I'll hold the line, either side, but I've just tied it right around, and this is how you check. I'll start with the back wheel. So it's actually touching the tyre on both sides. If you lift it a little bit at the back, it starts lifting off the tyre. So the back's straight, the back's good. I'll leave that as is. And the first thing I did actually was I have my wheel reasonably straight. That's actually moved, which probably means this is, so I've got a little bit of a gap there now. So that was, now get the steering wheel straight again. Not to move because it went mucking around on the other side. And you see it's touching the back of the tyre. And pull it out a little bit at the front. And I've got the same amount of gap at the back as I've pulled out at the front. So I've got that straight, and it's straight with the steering. So I come around with the other side. Now if I had a gap, I'd already checked the other back wheel's correct too. I've checked that previously, so we won't know over that. If you had a gap here at the back of the tyre, that would mean it's towing out too far. But see, that's actually touching the tyre. And you pull it out here. I've pulled that out a couple of mils, still touching the back of the tyre. Still touching. Right, it's just starting to come through. So I've got about 1/4 of an inch of toe in, which is, I would think, a little too much. So I'll pull that out, I'll get it straight. Sometimes when you get it straight, when you get it perfectly straight, on these older cars, it'll wander a little bit. Sometimes they actually like a little bit of toe in. But I think that's a little too much, and it feels that way when you're driving it. So, yeah, I'll wind that out 1/4 inch, and I'll take it for a test drive and see how it feels. Well, it was under there. I've been having an issue with this wheel when you turn it on full lock, and I don't need a light here to show you. I've got a light. But what's been happening? There's me light still under the car. When you turn it on full lock, not only rubs on the headlight, you do it in reverse, and it also, it's hitting on the bar. See if we could show you. Yeah, see where it's worn the paint off? The bar, it's also worn the paint off on the back of the headlight. And it's also scrubbed on the on here, which means I need to adjust the towing. I've got too much. I mean, not the towing. The lock. So there's probably can't actually see it. Probably can't see this. Oh, you sort of can. Anyway, there's an arm coming off the pitman arm, which comes to a rest, or bolt rest, and that's the lock adjustment for one side, and there's another one up there, so you can adjust how much steering lock you've got on either side. So yeah, obviously I've got a bit too much on that left side, but what I have noticed is that when I turn it full lock, and I don't want to do it right now because then I'm about to do a wheel on it, so I'm not going to turn the steering right now. But when you turn it on full lock and you look under here, you've got like a 1/2 inch clearance between both the bull bar and the headlight. And so what that tells me is that this whole, because it only happens when I'm going in reverse, when I full lock in reverse. So that tells me that this entire wheel thing is moving forward. And yeah, when I looked under, I actually noticed something that's rather dangerous. And it must have been like this the whole time I've been had it and been driving around. And I'm surprised, because I've never actually taken the front end apart. I've taken it off, but I left it complete. I've never undone the ball joints, tie rod ends, but if you can see it. Look at the tie rod end. That's better, it just focused by itself. And yeah, somebody's obviously, they've probably bashed it out, damaged all the thread, and then they've cut it off, and they've cut it way too short. Now, when I first seen that, I thought, oh, it must become loose. So I attempted to tighten it up, and without putting a lot of pressure on it, the nuts just turn freely. It's, so they've also stripped the thread. Like that's extremely dangerous. That comes out, you got no steering. If it comes out at 100 k's or something, you're going to have an accident. That's for certain. And you don't want to have an accident in a Volkswagen to begin with. They're really not that strong. So unfortunately, my other car's coming in here this week. It's going to be off the road for a week, so Yeah, I've got to drive it in the week now while I'm waiting for another tyre in. Tyre in's cheap too. There's only $20 plus. I think it's another 10 postage, but yeah. So what I'm going to do now, just as a safeguard, so I can drive it for a few days, is I'm going to drill a hole through that and put a split pin in there just to be certain that it doesn't actually fall off. But yeah, that's a rather shock saying that. And what's even more of a shock is that I didn't notice it, because I had the whole front end off and I painted it all and everything, and I didn't even notice. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, as I said, this whole wheel appears to be moving forward. I don't think it's wheel bearings, but I'll check it anyway. If it was wheel bearings, I'd feel it in the steering. But it's got to be the bushes in those two arms. There we go. Yeah, you can see them. The two arms that come out. You undo them. They've got a spline there. You pull them off the spline. I would actually mark where they are on the splines first, just so you get them back in the right place. And you pull the arms out and they've got bushes in there into the tubes. So yeah, it has to be moving. I don't know how you'd check it, or you'd have to, because you probably require a whole lot of strain to make it move. So I'd probably have to put a big long bar or something in there, wedge it and pull it forward to see how much movement. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother with that. I'll just replace the bushes. They've got to be worn anyway, you know. And the car's 71 model. Yeah, they're probably running original from the factory, so they've got to be worn out anyway. And yeah, hopefully they're not expensive. But so yeah, looks like it's time to do that. Yeah, where it's rubbing on the headlight, I'm just going to belt the back of that with a hammer. There's plenty of room in there. Just knock it in a bit. You can do it on both sides just to be certain. And then I'll adjust the pitman arm lock adjustment so it doesn't actually pull in as far. But yeah, I do want to correct that, because yeah, I want to go back to having a maximum steering lock, which you really sort of need when you go on bush, which is what this has been designed for. Okay, well, yeah, that's what we're up to. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks also to the, I've had a few new subscribers lately, so yeah, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. And hit the like if you like. Okay, bye.